Business as Unusual is a thought-provoking podcast that explores the innovative strategies, disruptive ideas, and unconventional practices driving successful leaders and companies in the ever-evolving world of modern business. Subscribe, comment, and share for weekly inspiration with our host, Aicila.
Hello, welcome back to Business as Unusual. Today, we're diving into a sector crucial for positive impact with a leader who is truly transforming how it operates. Joining me today is Jeff Schreifels, principal and owner of Veritus Group, a global leader in major gifts and mid-level fundraising strategy. With over 30 years of experience, Jeff has a remarkable track record helping nonprofits like St. Jude's and United Way raise millions through donor-focused relationships. A renowned speaker and author, Jeff is passionate about transforming nonprofit fundraising with actionable insights and inspiring success stories. His approach challenges conventional norms by emphasizing genuine connections and sustainable impact, aligning perfectly with our mission here at Business as Unusual to explore strategies that elevate an organization's impact beyond the usual. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited.
It's great to be here.
My first career was very small grassroots nonprofits. So my experience of fundraising is probably quite different. And yet I think the principles are fairly translatable.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
a lot of respect, though. What's a challenge that you see? And I'll restart it.
Yeah. A challenge that we often see is that nonprofit leaders are not funding different strategies appropriately. And yet they want these outcomes, but they don't want to invest in them. So that's a challenge that we see a lot.
So when leaders are investing in their fundraising, they often want to cherry pick where they put their funds and not necessarily really embrace the whole process.
That's true. So we call it like investing in the full donor pipeline in a sense. So many times we see organizations who invest heavily in small dollar donors. So they'll direct mail, email, to get a $10, $15 gift, $25 gift. And they see great success at it. And so they invest a lot into small dollar donors, which is fine if they also are cultivating them and moving them up and challenging donors to give larger gifts and inspiring them to give larger gifts.
Right.
Or we could see some organizations that only have a major gift program and they're not investing in bringing new donors in. And so then they're wondering, where are we going to get more major donors? And if you look at how they've been investing in all their different strategies, you realize they haven't really been investing in new donors. So that's a huge challenge, is trying to convince, from our end, most of the nonprofits have been doing a great job of bringing in small dollar donors, but really haven't inspired their donors to give to their full heart's content, as I would say.
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, and I found that when I was a baby fundraiser, I learned a really powerful lesson where we had a donor who used to give significantly and they stopped.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I was just wondering if we did something you didn't like. And they said, no, you just seem like you're doing great without me. And I immediately replied, well, yeah, we're doing great. And we still need you.
So that's a great story, because this is the number one reason donors stop giving or give less, is that they didn't know how their gifts made a difference. And many nonprofits fail at this. They are great at getting the gift and they really can put it in the bank really quickly, but they fail at thinking properly and then also reporting back on the impact. And when you don't do that well or complete the giving cycle, donors leave. Kind of like your example.
So, and I was lucky because I had the relationship, and I think that's something you talked about that I think, and especially now we have so many opportunities for automation and tech and AI agents that I think that relationships are going to become even more impactful in every aspect of business.
I totally agree. Yes. And this is also why, even though in the age of AI, and we're not anti-AI, there's ways to use it properly, but at the end of the day, if you really want a large gift from a donor, you first have to have a relationship built on trust. That takes human to human contact. And to solicit a donor for a big gift, that's going to come from a human being to another human being.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen through an AI robot.
Yeah. No, it's a different there was a book I read, I want to say like 13 years ago called Sway, and there's I forget the subtitle. I'll drop it in the show notes. But what was really interesting to me that a lot of different case studies and psychology studies, but that what you're talking about, if you give someone $5,000 and they don't talk to you at all for a year, and then they give you $10,000 back, they're less likely to give you five again than if they give you five and you keep them updated all year and you give them three back. It, the
Yeah.
financial piece, as much as we like to believe we're rational, and we are not, the financial piece
Yeah.
is less impactful than the engagement around what's happening and how, even if it's not even what's happening with your money, like you were talking about the impact and so that was a huge lesson for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good point.
So what about you? You've got to have a lot of great stories. Is there a time that you worked with a leader and were able to really sort of broaden their vision around how to invest? Like, what was the moment that they got it that you can?
Yeah. I feel like this happens quite a bit. So typically when we go into an organization, this just happened to me this week. Um, there's an organization that's interested in us. It usually comes from the development director.
Mhm.
So the person ahead of fundraising. But in order for them to hire us, we also have to convince their executive director. So this week, I was sitting in a conference room full of all the leaders of that nonprofit and the development director. And my job is to show them the data that makes a compelling case for why they should invest in mid and major gifts.
Mhm.
Previous to this, very small amount to mid and major gifts, huge amounts to direct response, small dollar donors. And they've had a lot of success in that, but it's becoming more expensive and realizing the returns are not as great. And they have all these donors, thousands of donors who they're not really working with. And, it really is a case of showing them if you actually invested in major gifts over the long term, and we show them a 5-year projection.
Mm.
Here's where you are today. If you had a disciplined mid and major gift program, you invested properly in people and in the right systems and structure, you could yield another $60 million in revenue. Now that's compelling,
Yeah, it's pretty compelling.
right? And your ROI is going to be 20 to 1.
Mhm.
Okay, so for relatively small investment compared to the output, that is compelling. And we were able to convince them, of course, that that's the way they should go. But even sometimes when they show that compelling evidence, they're reluctant. And a lot of times I think leaders don't want to rock the boat or take a chance or step out because they're afraid that something bad's going to happen. They may lose their jobs if they take a risk.
Yeah.
There's all they're fearful.
Mhm.
And or they've just been doing it this way for so long, they can't see outside to do something different.
Yeah. Well, and it's a longer lead time too, isn't it? So it's something they have to invest in, and then they have to
Yes,
be
that's the thing.
patient, right?
Exactly. And I said, there are all these leaders around. I said, look, at the end of the day, this is not going to work unless you commit to the long term. This is going to take 2 to 3 years where you're really going to see the results, the fruits of the labor,
Right.
right? So you have to be committed that this is going to happen for the next 3 years at least. And then from there on, you'll really see the benefits of it, but you got to be committed to it.
Yeah.
And most leaders, this is how I talk to them, most leaders think it's got to happen today.
Mm-hmm.
Major gifts is not going to happen today. Why? Because it's all about building relationships with donors,
Yeah.
gaining their trust, knowing who they are. That takes time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
No, it's definitely, it's an investment. And I think that in the larger business world, you see that as well. There's a real obsession with short-term profitability.
oh
And
yeah,
cash flow is important, 100%.
yeah,
However, most of the things that are, I think, longer term generative require that slow, thoughtful build that you're talking about. And so you
yes.
have to have the
Well,
patience and the
yeah.
strategy and the foundation, right, to make that
I
happen.
mean, look at Wall Street, quarterly reporting.
Hmm.
It's just crazy how short term everyone's
Yeah.
thinking. But if you look at those companies that are actually been around for a while and who have grown and who do good things, they think long term.
Yeah.
They're not just about getting that quarterly earnings report.
Yeah.
And it's the same way in my business with helping executive directors to see that major gifts is a long term game.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What does success look like for you?
Oh, a number of things, actually. I mean, first of all, success is doing what you love.
Hmm.
I have been fortunate throughout my entire career to do something that I love. Um, I kind of fell into fundraising. I just turned 60. And for people who are 60 and fundraisers, we didn't go to school to become
No.
fundraisers. We were doing something else. I have a history degree and teaching
Hmm.
degree, but I never did that because I went right into a nonprofit and fell in love with fundraising.
Mm.
I learned how to do it. And from that moment of working, I worked with two small nonprofits in the Philadelphia area, and I just loved it. I did that for 8 years. And then I went to an agency and worked on big organizations all around the country. And I just loved it so much.
Mm.
And now I've owned my own business for the last 15, 16 years
Mhm.
now. And every day is I can't wait to do this. So doing what you love, that's to me is success. And then of course, I want to create a work environment for the 40 people that work with us all around the world
Mm.
where they can thrive and they're happy at what they do and they find joy in their work. That's success to me. And then, I would say part of our vision and mission is to change the nonprofit sector's idea around fundraising,
Mhm.
that it's not just transactional gifts, it's about creating transformation.
Yeah.
Both those gifts that can transform and alleviate needs, but also the donor and help them find joy in their giving. And I believe the way that we go about it at Veritus is the right way to do this. And we want to spread that to as many people as possible. So we've not only do we do consulting, but we've created an online training platform so that any fundraiser anywhere in the world can take our training
Hmm.
on how to do this work right.
Nice.
And so over the last, let's see, from 2016 on, almost 10 years now, we've had an online platform and we've trained over 7,000 fundraisers around the world. And so, I was in Italy in June at a fundraising conference, and it was amazing to have all these people come up to me and say, I took your course And it changed how I thought about fundraising. And I was like, this is so cool. This is exactly what we wanted to
That's
do.
awesome.
So it's amazing that you can make an impact. You're kind of creating these things here, but its impact is all over the world. So that's pretty cool too. And then obviously we have great, happy customers and, the fundraisers that we're training and that we work with every day to know that their work is being transformed.
Yeah.
That all of those things is what I would deem success.
Yeah. That feels like a pretty good list. So,
Yeah.
What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Mm.
I know that sounds so cliche, but it's very true. If I look back and things that I would worry about, and if I look back now, I'm like, why did you worry so much about that?
Yeah.
Uh, Things actually turn out okay. You can give it some time, but if you're intentional about what you're trying to do, and you have the right mindset of where you're going, and you're kind to people, and you try to do the right thing, usually it comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the ethos of how we started Veritus, is that everything we learned, we wanted to give away free.
Mm.
So we created white papers, we created a blog, we do podcasts, we do all kinds of content creation, and we give it away.
Right.
And with the knowledge that when you give it away, it comes back to you. Because some people will take that information and they'll work with, do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have found is the more we've given, the more we've grown as a company.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
And I think that I've seen that universally. There's a way that you create almost an ecosystem of generosity. And especially
Correct.
with what you're working in, philanthropy, that seems
Yeah.
very mentally and emotionally aligned to amplify itself.
Yeah. But a lot of people were like, why are you giving everything away? If you did that, then no one's going to hire you to do anything. And I said, no. And I think it's a law of the universe that it's just like when people give away their money,
Yeah.
we know there's all these studies about how when people are generous, that the more they give, they're happier, healthier, and wealthier.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like, give it away and good things happen to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other part of it is that you see these things for, that's the 3 tips to being a millionaire tomorrow or something ridiculous like that. And
Yeah.
and some of those are obviously very clickbaity, but even the ones that might have some accuracy behind them, the other part of it is there's this list of work that you have to do and expertise you have to acquire. And I'm sure it's the same with the stuff that you're offering. When you put it out there,
Yes.
honestly, I found that when I put out, here's how I do the thing that I do, people try it, and at least, probably 30% of them like, oh, I didn't realize that there was this many steps and I was going to have to learn these things. Like, actually, can I just pay you to do it? Because I could see it.
Exactly.
And so there's a way in which it helps to orient people to the things that you make look really easy, because for you, you love them or they're second nature. You've been doing it for so long. You have a really great system and you have the expertise to make those decisions in the moment around 7 things that they'd have to go sit and read all of the pieces
Yeah.
or whatever. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I could see there's a lot of value. Honestly, you could provide value, which feels good, but then also people would get that sense of, oh, actually, we really want to hire these guys. This is too many
Yeah.
steps.
Right. I know.
So do you have like a favorite success story or a fail that you learned from? You were like, oh, we're not doing it that way again.
Oh, favorite fail or success story. Um, when my favorite failure, and it's what kind of then prompted the whole vision for Veritus was when I was a gift officer myself, a development director, and we had a board member that, gave $20,000 every year. And when I came onto the organization, I looked at that person hasn't given in 3 years. So I was like, I'm going to get a meeting with this guy and I'm going to ask him for 20 grand. That was the way I went into this meeting. I've never met this guy.
Right.
I went into this thing. I go in, he gives me his whole life story. I'm like, okay. And then there was a pause in the conversation. I was like, hey, Dan, I've noticed that you haven't given in 3 years. And you were giving 20,000. Would you be able to give a gift of $20,000? And he's like, he's kind of like taken aback.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, I think I can do that. And I'm like, great. I'll write it up and then I'll send something to you tomorrow. And he's like, okay. And I leave the office. I'm like, my first donor already got a $20,000 gift. I think I'm 1 week into the job, right? I go back to the office and my boss is in there and he's like, he looks worried. And I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, hey, can you come into my office? So I go into his office. He said, hey, I just got a call from Dan from our board of directors. And he said you were just meeting with him. And he basically said you ramrodded him into a $20,000 gift. And he said he was so taken aback that he resigned from the board.
Oh my gosh.
He was so upset with how I did this. And I was like, oh my gosh. Now, I'm lucky because my boss was very forgiving. He could have fired me that day. But what I learned was fundraising is not about the money.
Yeah.
Fundraising is about building relationships, real relationships with people. And if you do that well, the money follows. And was a big lesson for me as a young fundraiser at that time.
Yeah.
That never chase money, always build relationships. And fortunately, I was able to win back that relationship over time. He did come back onto the board and it was good. But that was a huge mistake that I made early on in my career. And it really formed our ethos at Veritus that this is all about building relationships. Our first book was, it's not just about the money, it's about building those relationships.
Yeah. No, it's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So do you have any trainings or things that are coming up that people could?
We do. We have our certification courses for mid and major gift fundraising coming up in October. If you go to our website at veritusgroup.com, Veritus group.com, you'll see all the available courses. If there's someone at a nonprofit that's interested in our consulting, we always do a free data analysis, which is really cool.
That's awesome. So helpful.
It's a really interesting analysis that most nonprofits don't look at their data this way. So that's really cool. And that actually, they'll get some great information, but for us in a business, it allows us to get in front of them and show them where there's an area of opportunity and then what's possible.
Yep.
It's compelling. So yeah, those are some ways
that sounds great.
Engage with us. And if you go to our website, we have a ton of free resources. We've got over 25 white papers, 1,500 blog posts. Anything you want to know about major gifts or mid-level, we have something on it.
That's fantastic. It's lovely that you have that for folks, because it is definitely and it's also evolving. But it sounds like you have a good balance of the traditional as well as the current.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is there anything that you want to share that we didn't touch on, or that you're feeling super inspired to offer up?
Well, I think I would just reiterate for people who want to grow their own businesses and might be entrepreneurs, and that don't be afraid to give away your knowledge.
Mm.
As you were talking, people, the more you give away, the more that will come back. It feels counterintuitive. It feels like you're giving it away. And why would anyone want to hire you? But you have to trust that what you know is unique, and people need to know about it. And if they really want to implement it, they'll ask you to help them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
or even if honestly, there's also the word of mouth. Like, even if they just follow your checklist and they
yeah,
do well, they'll be like, this helped me do this. And that
exactly.
and it's joy for you because of the things that you're saying you want for your success. So
That's
I
right.
love things that are win, 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 win. Everybody is doing well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
so folks that are listening that want to learn more, follow you, get in touch, what do you recommend?
Yeah, just go to our website at veritusgroup.com, and you'll see all of our offerings that we do and free resources, how to get a hold of us. Yeah.
So, well, thanks so much for joining me today, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
It's a real pleasure. Tune in next week for my chat with Faith Clark and discover how designing for true belonging, not just strategy, can transform your team's culture and success on the next episode of Business as Unusual. Thank you for tuning in to Business as Unusual. Remember, in this ever-evolving world of modern business, it's not about fitting in, it's about standing out. See you next time. Stay curious, stay innovative, and always keep it unusual. I hope you enjoy the show. I love making it. If you did enjoy it, consider hopping over to the review portion of the platform you listen on and letting other people know about it. Or share the episode or the entire show with a friend, or subscribe to the show. Definitely reach out, get on my newsletter, follow me on social media, and let me know what you like, what you don't like, and what you'd like to see in the future. Well, we love our guests. Appearance on the Business as Unusual podcast or any Bicurean consulting production is for information purposes only and is not to be considered an endorsement of their business practices, or character. Please properly vet anyone you find through this podcast and generally before you do any business with them. Thank you for listening.